Hello, once again, welcome to Willow Talk. Adam Peacock, Alyssa Healy, no Brad Haddon at the IPL. You're about to go to the IPL, so thanks for joining us once again.
Fantastic to be here.
Yes, it is. It is. We've got a bit to talk about today. We've got a special guest, actually. Neil Wagner is going to join us. I did an interview with Neil earlier this week, and loves a chat. And the bits about him and Steve Smith going head-to-head a few years ago, really, really interesting.
Nice. What a, journeyman. It's probably the best way to describe him, but just like a warrior of the game of cricket.
Another South African who left South Africa for another country and ended up in New Zealand and ended up having a 65-test career. So that, in anyone's books, is quality. And he has retired from first-class cricket in New Zealand at the age of 39.
Impressive.
He's going to play county cricket because he just loves it. So you can't help it.
Give it up, mate.
One person who unfortunately has given up, and we'll get into this shortly, Will Pucovski has announced his medical retirement at just the age of 27. Really unfortunate for Will, but it's no huge shock that it's gone this way. Hads has got another win at the IPL, so we might mention that.
Yeah.
In greater
Skip
detail.
over it.
Exactly. Yeah. Sundries is back. One of the worst LB decisions I think we've ever seen. I don't know. You might agree. You might not agree in county cricket. And we're going to chat about, given it's Masters Week.
Yeah.
You excited about Masters Week?
Yeah, we finally got the green light to talk about golf.
I know. Sorry, everyone.
But this is the one week of the year that everybody who knows nothing about golf actually just watches a little bit of golf because there's something special about it. So we've got to talk about it.
Yeah, I watch much more cricket than I watch golf, even though I play a lot more golf than, I don't play cricket because my body won't allow me to. But I actually don't like watching golf. I love watching cricket. So, yeah. Anyway, you.
No comment. That's unbelievable. I've watched a bit of your golf in the last week.
Sorry for being on your fairway. Yeah. If a good game of cricket's on and a final round of a major's on, which screen are you flicking to, Healy?
Split screen.
Fence it. Fence it. Now, remember to hit us up on social media if you want to get in touch with the show by searching Willow Talk Podcast on TikTok and Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Listener Sport. Diggs from WA got in contact and said, love the show, just listen to the Bluey app. And I think instead of a Trav Head statue with his helmet on his bat outside Adelaide Oval, what about the one after when he takes the wicket and the finger in the cup, icing it off? Don't know if you're going to get that past.
Well, I feel like less controversial is helmet on bat, just standing there, because then he doesn't have to explain what that means for the rest of his life because he's still offended the majority of the Indian population with said celebration, even though it's simply about taking wickets or putting his finger on ice. But I don't mind it, Diggs, but I'm not sure we're ready for that.
I don't think it's going to get past it. It'd be hard to sculpt as well.
Well, you know where you could put that? In that wax museum.
Yes.
That one would be great.
Madame Tussauds.
Yes. Put that in there. That'll be worthwhile.
Fair enough. Leave us a review as well, or follow on the Listener app, Apple Pods, Spotify. Diggs, thank you for that message. Very, very good. Shout out to the outstanding Lagerman who won the SMCA title in Sydney on the weekend to cap off an undefeated season. They're a motley crew of abilities and intelligence led by Trent and held back by the likes of John Kelly, JK. The boys celebrated long into the night at the Prince Alfred, so we raise a glass to the Lagerman here on Willow Talk. Shocked that the Lagerman ended up getting on the PI 55 after a victory.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? I wonder how they came up with the name.
Yeah. There'll be a few of those, I reckon, around there. A few pubs that would have been frequented over the past 2 weeks, given the end of summer seasons.
Do you think that the Lagermen play the draftman?
Maybe.
Was that a bad joke? Or the Pilsnerman?
Or the IPA men? Or the XPA men? Or the 0% ones who rock up.
And then they should be really good. They probably lost every game. Exactly. That's their problem. Silly.
As opposed to those XPA guys, the XPA men who are drinking 9%ers the night before games, rocking up just looking like they've been stung by a bee.
I'm keen to know more about the motley crew of abilities and intelligence. I'm keen to know how they rank that within their side, whether that's job-related or just street smartness.
I actually wonder if there's a tequila man out there somewhere that need a cameo.
You're up for that.
Yeah, I'm up for that. Up for that, as opposed to you.
I'll be in the Lagerman.
Yeah, no, you'll be
Lagerwoman.
the Napa Valley crew.
Oh, yep.
Don't forget that. Let's get into the show, shall we? Will Pucovski. Retires as a one-test wonder, if you want to call it that. It's just easy to say. He played one test for Australia, which, when you look at it, the amount of people that have played for Australia as opposed to the amount of people in Australia who have played cricket over time, Will's in that special 0.01 or 0.5 category that have played Test cricket. Announced retired from all forms of cricket at the age of 27, stepping into the role of coaching the MCC Premier League side. But what can you say about Will?
Well, I mean, it was a sad day. I think everyone maybe saw it coming. I think it was probably a really brave decision on his behalf. He obviously got all the medical advice he possibly could, and I think he explained it beautifully in that there's simply not enough research, not enough information as to why he was going through what he was going through. And I think at the end of the day, when that's impacting your everyday life, and the threat of being hit in the head with a cricket ball is like quite high when you play a sport like we do, especially as an opening batter, it makes it really challenging. So, yeah, I feel really sad because he was very good at what he did, and he could have solved a lot of our problems at the top of the order for Australia, but full credit to him. I think he's got a long career still left in the game. I think he speaks beautifully. He's done some great work in the BBL and is obviously taking up a coaching role. So, yeah, I hope he's not lost to the game, and I hope most importantly the cricketing community get around him and make sure he's well supported, because it's obviously been a tricky 12 months for him probably coming up with this decision.
You're right that there is a role or two or three to be found for someone like Will with his knowledge of the game. He scored over 2,000 first-class runs. His technique was great. He played that one test back in 2021 against India at the SCG, 62 in his first knock, 10 in his second. He was destined, it seemed, for that long career because he came into the side at the age of 23.
Yeah.
So that sets you up for a 10 to 12-year career. I guess the hard thing for him would be, in listening to that interview, which was on SEN, is holding on to knowing what you can still do. It's not like he's 35 and his hamstrings are hanging off the bone.
Yep.
It's like the untapped potential there. That would be a difficult thing to comprehend.
Well, 100%. I mean, yeah, he was very good. And I think those that watched him play understood how good he was. And he was only just finding international cricket. And I thought he would have settled in beautifully. But yeah, that's going to be a hard one for him to live with, I'd imagine. But I guess the flip side of that is making this decision at 27 with your whole life ahead of you, where you can still live it to the fullest instead of trying to get back out there, potentially getting hit in the head again and then suffering for another 12 to 18 months with the unknown of that. Like I said, hugely a brave decision, but a very smart one, I would say.
Yeah, and he's getting married tomorrow as well, getting married Friday. So he will have a self-induced happy headache on Saturday morning, I dare say, with the celebrations that will follow that. But just on a serious note, the concussion situation, which is, you know, I do wonder in every sport where we'll be in 40 or 50 years' time and how we'll look back at this time as to how concussion was being dealt with in the early stages of getting our heads, sorry for the pun, around this issue in sport. He's had symptoms like mental health. It's affected his mental health, the unsureness about everything, headaches, dizziness, motion sickness on his left-hand side. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been hit in the head and had those symptoms and the like, and what it does to you personally, with like how you wake up the next day.
Well, I think everyone probably experiences it a little bit differently. Like for me, I've been hit in the head a little bit. I had some quite serious repercussions after being hit in the head about 10 years ago, just before WBBL started. And I've never actually shared this story, so I still won't share it, about what actually unfolded. I'm still like living with it today. But I mean, you look at the likes of Ash Gardner, who suffers quite significantly from concussion as well. Sometimes the effects can last a week, 2 weeks, 2 days even. But for someone like Will, it's 12 months. And I think that unknown of what being hit in the head by a cricket ball does to us as individuals. And there's been a lot of research into concussion and helmet safety and whatnot moving forward since the Phil Hughes incident. But actually what getting hit in the head by a cricket ball does to your brain. Nobody really knows yet, and everyone experiences something different. So you're right. I wonder in like 20 years' time when the guys who played in the 80s that didn't even wear a helmet and got hit in the head and it was a bit of a warrior status.
Yeah.
I wonder if some stuff will come out about what they're going through as well. And hopefully by starting this discussion, by him, stepping away from the game, there's more looked into it and go, okay, well, it's not that we can manage it. It's more about the dangers of it and how we protect ourselves even better and make sure that we're still capable of living. I think that's the most important thing because at the end of the day, it's a sport and it's something it's a hobby for a lot of people. It's not ideal to be going through this stuff.
Yeah, you look at junior games now, every batter is wearing a helmet, whereas back when I was playing junior cricket, you were seen as a, what's wrong with this kid?
Yeah.
If you walked out with a helmet on, but you look at the science, the thought about it in other sports, like a sport like boxing, that led to believe they think that the body remembers concussions, so it goes into a self-protection mode when you get another one.
Yep.
So it overprotects, like a back spasm, really, in a different kind of way. The body recognises that something's wrong and it's quicker to respond, so you maybe get more symptoms quickly, whereas opposed to the first one or the second one, I'm not sure how many you had, but even you look at some players who, like Will, absolutely understandable that it rocks you.
Mm-hmm.
Then you look at Steve Smith, with what happened with Jofra Archer at Lords.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the delayed concussion. Marnus gets his start. But then Steve Smith comes back later in the series and it's like he got back on the conveyor belt type thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't even affect him one way or another on the outside, but you don't know what was going on behind the scenes with Stephen on that occasion.
Well, it's interesting because I'm just thinking back to the World Cup in 2018 where I technically got knocked out. Megan Shute knocked me out with her shoulder. Both went for a high ball. To this day, I still blame Elise Perry. She called me into it. I got knocked out and they wouldn't. I got up. I was fine. I went off the field. They wouldn't let me bat because of all the testing that you had to do. I was a little bit slower than what I normally was, but I felt like I was fine.
That's the baseline testing that you do.
Yeah, the scat, and then I did the quick one where the cards flip over and whatnot. And I thought I was fine, and I was really angry that I didn't get to bat, but didn't matter anyway. But to play the semi-final, I basically had to get my symptoms back to baseline. So you do your baseline testing. For me, that was sitting in a dark room for 2 days, not going outside, didn't see any light, didn't do anything. I literally just sat in a dark, cool room and just basically shut everything down, shut my eyes, slept a lot and just completely tried to reset my brain so that I could prove my fitness for a semi-final.
Wow.
Whereas nowadays it's you're ruled out automatically for 7 to 10 days, whatever it might be. But that's what it took for me to prove myself to get back on the field. Don't know, I can't remember anything now, so maybe it's done me a disservice, but to get back on the field. But yeah, I don't know. There's just, for me, it's a real unknown, and I think it's really terrifying. And to see someone like that walk away from the game, I think there's going to be a lot of questions asked about what we're doing.
Do you feel as a player in the modern era, as things have been adjusted and now you see, even if it's a glance to the helmet, the protocol is physio or medical staff has to come out, check the constitution of the helmet and also check the player and everything like that. Do you feel as a player that cricket has done as much as it can to this point, because things will evolve, to ensure that every bit of safety is in the player's corner when it comes to this issue?
Yes and no. I'll probably get in trouble here, but I feel like there's been a lot of developments about the helmets, but I actually feel like they've contributed to the concussion a little bit. And I say this because the old school helmets, they used to just crumble on impact with the ball, right? But you never actually felt it. The helmet would take the blow of it and probably break. Yeah. But that's okay. You'd replace it and move on. Whereas the new helmets are so sturdy, they're made for the impact. But when you think about it, it's when your head is sitting inside the helmet and the ball in the men's game is hitting you at 145 kilometers an hour, that impact is hitting you and your head is rattling around in the helmet and the sound of it as well hitting you almost just shakes your brain.
So your brain is the shock absorber as opposed to the helmet being the shock absorber.
Yeah, and I think that happens in the NFL as well, where their heads are sitting inside those helmets. Yes, they lead with their heads first, but it's actually like their brain shaking around in their head when they make impact. And I often wonder, there's no science in my thinking behind this, but I often wonder if that's contributing to the symptoms of the concussion, because I can tell you the sound of getting hit in the head is a really intense feeling now.
And hard to forget. Yeah,
as opposed to potentially what it was in the past. So, and I know there's been a lot of work done on their helmets and they're more protective, so you don't get hit in the head and severely injured in that regard. But it's actually now, because they're so hard and so protective, it's a terrifying sound inside, which, like I said, I think now there's going to be some more science, some more learnings into
development,
as to how we move forward.
And I'll reiterate, I'll back you up. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but you're not having a crack at the science. You're basically just explaining what it feels like because you have felt that.
Yeah, as a player, even behind the stumps, we get hit in the head a lot when I've got a helmet on.
Yeah.
But it's just the sound of it just really rattles you, whereas I feel like that never used to happen. So I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting moving forward.
What about if you get too close to a bat on a heave out to mid wicket? Is that a different feeling?
That one I can't help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd rather get hit with the bat, I think.
Yeah?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Back to Will and the fact that he is a one-test player for Australia and always will be. Callum Ferguson, Stuart Law, James Faulkner, Phil Emery, Mick Malone, who came into a side around World Series cricket when everything was going there. So there's a blast from the past. Anyone else you want to throw up from the women's game as well? There's probably more one-test players, is there not, in women's, because you don't get the opportunity to play 100 tests.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a pretty handy list of men's players right there.
Quite a handy list. And you wonder often why they didn't play more. Callum Ferguson stands out for me a little bit. What happened there?
He played in Hobart, unfortunately, Cal, and it was just that time where people were coming in and out of the squad and they made a change for the next one, and that was the end of it.
At the end of the day, you get given your baggy green, you get given your test cap number, and they cannot take that away from you.
No, you can't.
So you'd rather play one than none. You'd rather play 100 than one, but you'd rather play one than none. So I think it's an illustrious list to be on.
Yes, exactly. IPL. So this is your last show before you jet off to the IPL.
Yeah. Holidays.
Holidays at, what's that course in Delhi?
DLF.
Yeah, DLF. Holidays there. Not so much watching cricket. No. You be watching. Do you play tourist easily, or is it just hanging out with hubby?
I'm being the really supportive wife, so it'll wait and see what he wants to do. But I do know that they've been training really hard over there, so that gives me a couple of hours to get out and do my own thing, which is cool. But yeah, I'll try and get out where I can, but I spend a little bit of time in Delhi over my time, but probably haven't explored it to its capacity. So I'm looking forward to spending a couple of weeks over there.
Fair enough. And you'll have to catch up with Hads at some point.
We actually go up the top and play them up at Dharmashala, which I'm really excited because I've never been up there. So I'm looking forward to playing tourist up there. Maybe Hads can show me around.
I'm sure he will. Unless he's got the irrits about things.
Let's see how the next few games go.
Well, since we last recorded, they won a game, actually, Punjab. So by the time you get there, by the time you see him, he might be in an okay mood. But they're going okay, Punjab. Just having a look at some of the results as well. We brought you earlier in the week that game between Mumbai and RCB. Lucknow, mammoth total, 3 for 238. Mitch Marsh,
on fire.
He's going great guns at the moment. And it's a double act. Nicholas Puran, who we know. I mean, it's no surprise. This 87 off 36, defeating KKR. But in the 2021 IPL, Puran played 6 innings for 4 ducks. And he tweeted saying, "I will use this as motivation to come back stronger than ever." Well, eventually he has.
He has.
Is he where does he rank in terms of firepower batters in the last decade or so?
He really surprises me, actually. It's funny, and I'm assuming that he's not a surprise to a lot of people, but he's quite unassuming when he comes to the crease, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere he just goes bang, and he's got a ridiculous amount of power. So it's been kind of cool to see him come good, and he's so good in that middle order for Lucknow. Obviously Mitch Marsh at the top is going great guns and probably enables him the opportunity to come out and swing hard. But his confidence to go 87 not out off 36 balls to know that he's got the ability to win a game. Pretty cool.
Very cool.
I'd love that confidence.
Mitch Marsh, was he born to be an impact sub?
Yep. I can guarantee you, and I'm not putting words in his mouth or speaking on behalf of him, but if he could literally, you could approach him and say, would you be an impact player for anyone in the world? He'd say yes. For him not to have to field or bowl, what a dream gig. Just bat, because he loves batting and he's so good at it. Take the others out. How good. We're seeing the best of him.
450s and a golden duck so far.
That's
this
T20
IPL.
cricket. You got to accept the golden duck.
Exactly. Now, Hadz's Punjab side, and Ricky Ponting's, of course, we should make mention of that, they got it done against CSK. I'll get to Punjab's innings in a moment. We saw another retired out.
Yeah.
Devon Conway, who was going, like, you look at the stats, it's 69 or 49, but they made that decision late in the game to kind of wind things up a bit to try and chase down that 220 to win.
Surely, like, no offense they've obviously got their reasons, but when you're 69 or 49, you're probably just getting ready to go.
You're building.
Well, I mean, they only lost by, 18 runs in the end?
You've set a platform.
Yeah. Surely he's going to make 30 off the next 10 balls he's got and get some close.
It's not like Devon Conway is a noted, struggles to clear the fence type player.
Yeah. Admittedly, like, I haven't seen it, but unless he was completely hanging out of his ass and he was tired and he wasn't middling him.
Yeah.
Interesting. But I mean, you'd probably at the same time you're probably trying to get MS Dhoni in the game.
Well, he was in the game, MS Dhoni. I'll get to it in a moment. But Priyanish Arya scored in that game for Punjab the fourth fastest century. They were in real strife in the eighth over. They were 5 for 80 odd. So they were in a heap of trouble. But Arya got going to the tune of scoring his century of 39 deliveries, equaling Travis Head from last year, but behind only Chris Gale, 30 delivery century, if you don't mind. Yusuf Pathan, 37 deliveries, and David Miller, 38. So, yeah, that's insane. Like under 40 deliveries for a century.
It's becoming more normal, though. That's the scary thing, Adam. But when you look at those numbers, you're like, what? Because I think, like, if I make 50 off 23 rocks, I'm pretty happy. But they're making the 100 off the next 12 balls. Or if Chris Gale's 8 balls. That's crazy.
Do you know your quickest 50?
No idea.
No idea?
Don't care.
Century? Don't care.
Don't care. As long as we won the game, Adam, that's all that matters.
There you go. Well, this fella, Priyanish, nice moment after the game, he actually handed his man of the match trophy to MS Dhoni.
Oh, wow.
Because MS Dhoni's God, of course.
What's MS Dhoni going to do with that?
I don't know.
He's probably got 1,000 of them.
It was a gesture.
Oh, I see.
Gesture.
Hopefully he gave it back.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure he would have. The great man. I'm sure he would have. But nice moment for Punjab. And, I think they're 3-1 now, Hadz's mom. So good for them.
Looking good. They're sitting 6 points, but
Yeah.
Delhi's the only team unbeaten at this stage, sitting on their 6 points as well, but they're 1 game behind, so we'll wait and see how they go. I think they play RCB next, actually, and Bangalore, so it'll be an interesting one.
It will be. Off to a quick drinks break. Back in a moment with Neil Wagner and a packed edition of Sundries. Back from the drinks break, and just before we get to Neil Wagner, Heels, I'm led to believe Stato, your quickest 50, 21 balls against Ireland.
Nice.
7 years ago.
That was a long time ago. That was when I could find the middle.
Don't be like that. Don't be. Your best days are still ahead of you.
Yeah. Yep. We'll wait and see, won't we?
From one veteran to another. And let's get to our special guest here. A couple of days ago, I caught up with Neil Wagner and love this guy because he's a Kiwi. It doesn't matter. He gave absolutely everything every time he went out there, over 60 tests for New Zealand. And he had a great moment in the Kiwi domestic red ball competition a couple of weeks ago, in that in his last ever first-class game on New Zealand soil, he got it done and won a title finally at the ripe old age of 39. He's our special guest, Neil Wagner. Well, mate, Neil, as I said in the intro right there, after 17 years of playing cricket in New Zealand, you've retired from first-class cricket over there at the ripe old age of 39. First things first, I don't believe you're retired. Is that, or can you put an absolute definitive line that you are done there?
Yeah, no, it's just done in New Zealand, mate. 17 years. I've done about two or three of those, three on top of those. In South Africa, so it's close to almost 20 years of professional cricket or first-class cricket. But yeah, not completely done. It's just done in New Zealand. I'm heading over to the UK to go play for Durham soonish, like back half of their summer, back into the season, and I'll sort of make a call, I guess, how that goes, and sort of reflect, I guess, on the time there, and then see where the wind blows me next, I guess, and take it as it comes.
So it takes a bit for us here at Willow Talk to acknowledge a Kiwi performer, because, you know, we like this friendly rivalry that we have. It's nothing sinister like the Australia-England rivalry, but, mate, full respect, because every time we see you play, especially here on Willow Talk, it's nothing but absolute everything that you have given. Do you feel that at the age of 39 that you have given absolutely everything with the little bit left that you've got in cricket?
Yeah, I still do. I felt like there was sort of just the nature of me and the way, you know, I was brought up, but also, I guess, your background and everything, I guess, you've gone through, and, you know, making a bold move and jumping on a plane, I guess, shifting to New Zealand by yourself as a young kid trying to chase your dreams and wanting to play international cricket. Yeah, I think it all just sort of added to the character you are and who you wanted to be, and it sort of just naturally happens. I, you know, sometimes look at the vein popping celebrations and the stuff that goes part of it, and I go, geez, you know, I wish it wasn't like that, but you know, sort of feel afterwards, you see the facial expressions and stuff like that, but it just naturally happens and it comes out, and I guess, like I said, part and parcel of who I became, and I think it added a massive part of, you know, the way I bowled and what I did and the role. I think I had to sort of, you know, find something, I guess, a little bit different or extra, I guess, in a way to deliver that sort of role that I had to do.
And the start of your international cricket, it wasn't as if it was handed on a platter. It was, you didn't get anything for nothing, basically. You had to work and work and work. You finally get your first crack at it in a test match against the West Indies, and Chris Gale goes berserk. What are your memories of a situation like that when you finally get a crack and, wow, yeah.
Oh, mate, the first thing I remember was we won the toss, and I was pretty grateful, thinking, oh, over there, you know, great result, sort of gets us in the game, and yeah, good on us, and did all right with the bat, and then Gale came out. I remember, I think not my first over, I think the first over of the game, Chris Martin bowled and went for like 24 or something like runs. Like, he just teed off, I think, with like 3 or 4 boundaries in a row. Remember looking at it going, geez, like, this is a bit different to what I've been accustomed to. And yeah, the rest was sort of a pretty hard graft from there. I think it was one of the slowest, more flattest, docile wickets I've sort of played on, and pretty hot, humid and windy conditions. And it was a pretty brutal introduction to Test cricket, to be honest, and sort of thought, this is what it's made, you know, or going to be about. It's going to be a tough road. So yeah, it was quite a humbling experience, that was for sure.
How would you sum up your battles with Australia? Had some good ones, and we'll get to you taking on Steve Smith in particular in a moment. But we always have an evaluation of Australian teams playing against opposition. We try to evaluate the opposition as much as possible. How would you evaluate Australian cricket and playing against our best?
As a kid growing up, obviously in South Africa, and then the move to New Zealand, the rivalry was always been there, like between South Africa and Australia, and then moving to New Zealand, then quickly realising, the battle from, across the ditch is quite big, and, you sort of always had respect for Australian players or Australian greats. The interactions I've had as a young kid when the Australian team was over in 2003 Cricket World Cup and met some of the players, I had huge respect, but I also felt like, that's a team that you're going to reckon with, and if you do well against Australia, it's, I guess, the highest. You want to try and, I guess, rate yourself as a cricketer in a big way and perform against them. I always felt like when you play quality teams like that, India, Australia, South Africa, England, you had to find a little something extra within, to compete. We don't nearly play as much cricket or have the experience, I guess, a lot of the other players do. So you want to throw a few punches and show that, what you're made of and what you've got. And, against the best in the world, I sort of really wanted to measure up against them and show that, I want to compete against them. And, I've only enjoyed playing against Australia, especially playing in Australia. I sort of felt like as a kid, you always watched the Boxing Day tests and that. And as a kid, it's sort of something like a bucket list. You want to play and want to be able to get to and aspire to be able to do. So yeah, it was just a bit of a dream come true, and then trying to make the most of the opportunity and the occasion, I guess, and thoroughly loved it. It was in front of a massive crowd, the Kiwi crowd, I guess, and that Boxing Day Test match was amazing. They were so loud. It was something I've never experienced before, and it really got you fired up. So yeah, it was a pity about the result. I would have loved it to go the other way, but I really enjoyed some of the battles I had against some of the Aussies.
Do you have to have an edge about you when you play Australia, or is that totally dependent on who the characters are playing for Australia at that time?
No, I think you do. I think Australia's a really proud nation, and they right at the top of their game for a number of years now. So you're going to be up against a battle of it. Like, what I'm going to dish out, I'm going to get as well. That for a fact, and that's the cool, I guess. Thing about it is playing Australia is if you're going to put a foot forward and you're going to do it, you're going to cop it as well, and you're going to get it, by not just one bowler but the whole team and four of them relentlessly the whole time. And it was the case. It was definitely the case. And hey, I loved it. I've always wanted to play at the highest level against the best players and test yourself, I guess, in that sort of way. So I was sort of really up for that challenge. But I find you have to really, find something within yourself a little bit different. You have to control, I guess, the white noise and the emotions, I guess, of everything around it.
Mate, Steve Smith, 2019. This is prime Steve Smith, as opposed to just prime Steve Smith. But he's the world's best. You get him 4 out of 5 times in that series. Is that just pure will, or was there something tactically that you got right, or was it just the stars aligning for your good self? Because you had his number.
No, I don't know what it is, mate. Like I said, I came across Steve Smith in real early days, and he was more leg spinner back then. Like in this sort of series we played, New Zealand A, South Africa A, India A, and with Australia and the Gold Coast, and so it was in Brisbane, I think. And he was more of a leg spinner back then, but you could quickly tell that it was something, about him and the way he played. He was quite aggressive, scored a lot of runs, batted sort of like lower order. And then the series I played him the first time, I think it was Brendan McCullum's last sort of test match, and we went to, that's where the whole sort of short stuff, I guess, started. And I bowled it there to him, and I remember hitting him, and it felt quite bad. He sort of hit the ground quite hard, and it sort of just restricted him because he was scoring quite freely and quite quickly in that series. And it was always sort of the back of my mind, like, hey, this could be a bit of a tactic and a bit of a thing to sort of, go at him. And I just remembered, every time I watched him play, as soon as he bowled the stumps, he sort of manipulate the field, and he sort of flick you through leg side and flick you. And the only guy I sort of ever came across who was like there was Hashim Amla. You'd sort of bowl an off stump, and he'd sort of hit you through the offside and full stump, and it's almost like you feel like you had to bowl really straight to him, and then he'll clip you through the leg side and sort of just dictate the whole field. And I just went bugger it. Hey, if he's going to school around the ground and he feels so comfortable about it, like, why not just try and hit his shoulder or his head the whole time? Like, sort of limit his movement, see what it does. And I sort of felt like, there's sort of a bit of a blind spot or a bit of a window, sort of go at him. And to be fair, he was bloody patient. He just kept leaving. And I was just like, come on, man, just play a shot out of it or do something. And he just kept leaving. And I sort of felt like there's something of just dotting him up and not letting him score. And, finally got him out, obviously, that way, and got him out again. And I thought, okay, well, if this is the way I'm going to get out and not score, I'm just going to bloody do it the whole time and see who gives in first. And, keep going with it, and became quite an intriguing battle, and I sort of just loved doing it. The crowd media sort of jumped on the back of it, and you sort of try and play that as well, I guess, to a little degree. And, huge utmost respect for him. He's a class batter. He's one of the world's best for a reason, and I just wanted to get him out. Took a bloody long time to do it, but finally got him a couple of times, which was quite a nice way. He made me bloody shorter every bounce, every ball I had to bowl inch by inch. I started getting shorter and a bit more pain and stuff he had to deal with, but happy to try and get his number, I guess, in a way.
So when you're bowling like that and you're encouraging him to maybe try something that he doesn't want to do, are you giving him some friendly advice? And is there some advice back to you, or is he off on another planet and he's not even engaging?
I did. I sort of try to give him advice to sort of try and take it on, actually try and score, and might be a little bit more comfortable for him. But, mate, it was like talking to Space Cadet. Like, he's just not answering you, just doesn't look at you, just sort of smile. Like, he's in his own bubble. Like, a couple of times I would say that, and I don't think he even heard it or registered. I knew I was mindful of not trying to say too much. I did give my fair share, but I know there's Stark and Hazelwood and gosh, the whole crew is going to come back at me, and so they did, rightfully so. If you're going to dish it out, you're going to be prepared to take it. So as soon as I came into bat, mate, about, I can't remember how many overs I bowled in the first innings, but it was bloody hot in Perth, and I do remember bowled a fair few overs, and coach tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You got to be night watchman." I was like, "Oh, really?" It's like, mate, I was like, "Oh, I just dished it out of a fair bit of it. I know I'm going to cop plenty of it now." So I was like, yeah, every other time I wanted night watchman, it was the first and only time I was like, geez, honestly, I can't even get my shoes on at the moment. So I'm going to have to do a fair bit of ducking out there. And fair to say, I knew Stark was going to go for a Yorker. I was just like, he's not going to go your head. Yeah, he's just going to go poles, mate. He's one of the best Yorker bowlers going around the world. So all I could think is just block this. He's bowled about 6-stump Yorker. And as I defended, I chopped in the stumps. I was just like, oh, no. And the very next innings, I was not in as not watchman, so I knew I was going to get a few parts whistling past my ears and my nose myself. But hey, I liked the challenge, and I sort of tried to take it on a couple. And fair to say, it didn't last too long, but I gave it a big old crack. But I knew I was mindful of whatever I was going to say. I was going to cop a few back, and I did dish a few out, but it was like it just didn't register.
Was there a beer to be had at the end of that series, unlike the Ashes in 2023?
There was, mate. To be fair, though, bloody good sort. We've always had a good couple of beers with the Aussies afterwards, and it was quite good. Matthew Wade was quite funny, mate. He tried to show a couple of the bruises that he wore for it. I said, mate, you stupid, why don't you just play it? And he said, I was never going to give you my wicket. And I was like, oh, fair play. And showed me a couple, and he called me Nick Nurries, and I was like, Nick Nurries? What the hell is this Nick Nurries thing? He said, you keep bowling at the neck, and I was like, okay, good on you. But I didn't know what the Nick Murrays is. There's this guy who's famous in New Zealand for Nick Minute, and I sort of thought I was trying to refer to this Nick Minute guy, and I was like, what's the Nick Nurries sort of thing? So he well and truly got me with that. But yeah, he sort of cut me deep a little bit with the comms. Him and Tim Payne said, I want to come play in the Big Bash, want to come play in the Big Bash, want to come play T20s. And I was like, geez, you guys have done your homework here. You're sort of really cutting me deep here with the whole haven't played T20 cricket or whatever. I was like, what angle are you going with here, mate? I was like, no, we really want to come play in the Big Bash. I said, mate, sign me up, I'll come tomorrow. But nothing ever eventuated. But I was like, yeah, good tactics, bro. Like, it's sort of really cutting deep. But anyway, nothing eventuated.
Fair enough. At least you did happen to play over 60 test matches, so that's a pretty good record as it is without any Big Bash or whatever. And some famous instances you're involved with as well. You dismissed Jimmy Anderson down the leg side to beat England by 1 run. Amazing test match, Wellington 2023. What was that like to be involved with? With, of course, Brendan McCullum involved on the other side as well, your ex-teammate. How was that afternoon stroke evening? Oh,
mate, it was bloody special. It was one of the best memories, I guess, or best moments of my career, definitely. Very fond memory, and just pretty glad to get on the other side of it and over the line, especially the previous test match. I took quite a bit of tap. They just came out with the old baseball sort of tactic and it went, and, a lot of top edges, and some they got pretty good hold of, and just kept going for boundaries and things, but all these top edges kept landing in pockets. And I remember Kane Williamson himself just sort of encouraged us to keep going, like you're creating chances. And I kept looking at the scoreboard, and I said, mate, I'm going at 10 runs and over. It feels like a bloody T20 game. We've got to stop the bleeding somewhere. And they just encouraged us to, mate, keep going. Like, if we need to try and bowl them out and keep getting, taking wickets. And I remember just looking up, and I was like, this is the first time I went for a truckload of runs sort of doing this. And sort of took a bit of a battering. So I sort of felt like, hey, especially with Baz and the other shed, and I knew what he would sort of tell them to do and how to play him, play me and what to do, and sort of giving them, every sort of, I guess, inside information. You sort of couldn't help it in the back of your mind, sort of sort of keep grinding you a little bit, and to finally get one up on the old mate, especially after I guess the tap you took in the first test and losing our first test was pretty pleasing, and trying to, I guess, keep a winning record in New Zealand alive, which was pretty pleasing, and to be involved with and contributed, I guess, in that series. But yeah, lucky the ball before that wasn't called a wide, which I was pretty stoked about. There's a few of them happen in the game, so yeah, I'm grateful that the umpires were pretty consistent. But yeah, lucky the rub of the green went sort of your way, and Mother Cricket had something good, I guess, and sort of swung your way. And yeah, winning that test match was pretty special.
Do you like beating England more than you like beating Australia?
Well, I've never beaten Australia, so I can't really comment on that. That would have been a nice one to be able to have done, mate.
Is the will greater to beat England than
to be honest,
Australia?
I think the pinnacle would have been beating Australia. That would have been the one for me, I think. Yeah, beating England is pretty special, and it was pretty cool, and yeah, it was right up there, I guess, in my career. But that Boxing Day test, I think there's a lot of things I would have traded in my career or my life to wanting to beat in Australia, I guess, and that would have been the pinnacle of a career, I reckon.
Hey, what about the time, though, and more heroics here, and this is when your body had literally said, nah, mate, I'm done. You've got a herniated disc, you've torn your hammy, but out you come and try and get past Sri Lanka in another dramatic test match. We love watching these test matches over here in Australia because they're a great time zone, firstly, and they're good TV events because the crowd gets into it, and more often than not, there's an exciting finish, which was the case this day. You had to run with a herniated disc and a torn hammy and quickly get through to win a test match. At what point did the pain set in when that all happened?
Well, firstly, I was glad he didn't hit the stump, so he shied on my end because I was never going to make it. So it would have been out, so that would have been worse. But yeah, well and truly afterwards, mate, I think the next morning, after a couple of beers, when I tried to get out of bed, that's where I realised, jeepers, what's going on in your body. Adrenaline is an amazing thing. It was my birthday, so I wanted to play a part out there, I guess. And, mate, I hate sitting on the side of the field. Yeah, when you get injured, it's pretty gutting. I've always wanted to be out in the middle in action and be a guy who puts his hand up and wanting to win test matches for your country and play a part. And for a couple of days sitting on the side, watching your mates have to grind really hard, to get in I guess, some position to win a test match. And the work they've done in use on the side, you sort of feel like you haven't contributed or done a thing. It was quite niggly. So for me, when the chance came, I actually set my pads up earlier because it was sort of wicked to burn. So he asked me sort of like, do you think you can sort of swing the willow and go and score a few boundaries? And sort of like, hey, if you're not, going to bat, may as well chuck you up front and try and whack a few. You might whack a few and 20-odd runs could be a change in bringing the run rate down and sort of help us. And I was sort of, stoked, happy, batted up. I was sort of ready to go, 3 or 4, whatever it was. But the guys did a pretty good job of, getting us close. And I sort of kept bumping down the order as it went on, as they sort of spread the field, and it got to a point where you had to run twos. I was sort of right back to down the order where I sort of belong. So yeah, when the chance came where I had to go out, I sort of felt, hey, I might have to hit a boundary or hit something here to get the winning runs. And thankfully, Kane was in there seeing it as big as a beach ball, and no better guy, I guess, to have in there to be able to get us across the line. And thankfully had a few out in the middle and got us close, and it came down to 1 run, and we were always going to run a bye, I guess, if it had to be on that last one, and it was the case.
Mate, I like watching that on the TV. I could almost hear you rattling as you ran up the thing with all the Voltaren that you probably had in your system to get through it. But yeah, I suppose it was all worth it in the end, no matter what the pain, probably the operation after.
Luckily, no op. It was a long road to recovery. A fair bit going on, a couple of cortisone injections and stuff like that in the back. A lot of strength and conditioning. Pilates was actually a bit of a humbling experience. Is one of the things I had to undertake to try and get the muscle of this hamstring and back, I guess, stronger. And my wife always gave me a lot of stick there. Pilates is quite hard. I always sort of laughed and said, come do a gym session with me. But it was a humbling experience, that's for sure. And a good 6 months of doing this, sort of realised there was other muscles in the body that needed a bit of attention as well. And it definitely helped. But hey, whatever I could do, and add to, I guess contribute to Test wins for New Zealand, I was happy to put my body on the line and do whatever I could to just contribute in the slightest way ever. And yeah, it was pretty special to be a part of it. But I did nothing but run and dive, and Kane and score the runs, and luckily he dove in the other end, because otherwise he would have been run out. So it was quite an embarrassing dive from his end, to be honest. So I was full stretch flying, and he was sort of falling on his knees, but at least he did that, and we made it safely across the line and winning a test match, which was pretty special.
It was brilliant. One of the best tests, the endings to a test I've ever seen in my life, and anyone who saw it as well would probably put it in that category. Mate, just before we let you go, give us a top three that you've bowled to in terms of, I don't want to make you feel bad, but made you feel a little bit helpless out there because they are that good. Now, you grew up in South Africa. You had a bit to do with AB de Villiers. You mentioned Hashim Amla before, Steve Smith, other greats that you've bowled to. Can you whittle it down to a top three?
Yeah, hey, Steve Smith will be up there. I've got him out a lot of times and that, but he also scored a few runs, and it took a long time of having to do it countlessly over and over again to try and get him out. So he'd definitely be up there. I'm lucky that I got him out a few times, and was quite happy about that. Alyssa Cook was another one. Played the short ball quite decently, and just had quite a lot of time, I guess, and got him out a couple of times, but it was bloody hard work to sort of get out, and a good player, I guess, in that sense. AB de Villiers, mate, like you mentioned, I think he was just the absolute freak. I always bowled him in the nets as a kid. We played a lot of cricket together, and stuff like that, and he, well and truly made you feel that you were a lot slower than when you thought you were, just having that much time. And I'm not going to lie to you, Harry Brook is right up there as a freak talent. I think Harry Brook and AB de Villiers is the closest I think I've come to as guys where you go, start running out of ideas. You've got a bit of a method and a bit of a plan and a bit of an idea where you're going to get them out, and you sort of feel like you're on top of this, but they quickly find a way of sort of neglecting it and start hitting you to all parts of the ground. I sort of feel like, especially when they start scoring 360, I think that's when it's tough. Like, you can put fielders in an area and start bouncing them, or start bowling, top of stumps and balls sort of moving around. But once they start hitting you where there's no fielders and sort of making you feel with ease, those guys are hard. So I feel like Hashim Amla, Harry Brook, AB de Villiers and Steve Smith was definitely, I feel, in my personal opinion, some of the hardest guys to bowl to.
So on that, for the Ashes, who would you put as cutting off the head of the snake type areas for the English lineup? Is it still Joe Root, or what you said there about Harry Brook? It might be him by the time we get to next summer. Yeah,
I think Joe Root, again, that's another one you mentioned. I sort of felt like I quite, intriguing battles with, and got him out a few times as well, which is quite nice. But he's a serious class performer as well. Like, again, in that same category, I guess, for mine. But Joe is a quality player. By all means, I don't think anything away from him. I think the thing from Harry Brook is, I think Joe, when he plays his natural game and he just stands there, he's like Steve Smith. He will grind you down and can bat long periods of time and stuff like that. But a guy who can hurt you and actually score at a good rate and a good click, and I guess take the game away from you, being match-winning innings that can change things when you think you're on top, I guess, in the game as a guy like Harry Brook. So, I mean, just watching him this season again, either way he played, Willow Rourke as a quality bowler and runs in and bowls quite quickly and shapes the ball, and there's something special about him, and Matt Henry is a real class as well. And the way he ran last season, and in that test match you spoke about, winning by one run, the innings, I remember Tim Salvey sort of slipped over and sort of just dropped short of him. Could have been a catch, and it could have been out early, and that test match could have been quite different. But on a green surface, it did quite a bit in the morning session in Wellington. He was running down the wicket, hitting guys over their head, and then sort of lapping guys. The shot he played against Willow Rourke, about 145, 147 kilometres an hour, running down the wicket and hitting him over extra cover for quite a big six, not just six. And he didn't do it just once; he did it a number of times. says there's something special about the bloke, and he's got a bit of talent about him, and to be able to do it when they quite a few wickets down in trouble, and then save their team and score a high sort of score and a big 100. There's something special about him.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. I can think of better things to do with my spare time than walk down the wicket to 145 k's an hour. But each to their own when you have that kind of skill. Neil, thanks so much for joining us, mate. Really appreciate the chat. Congratulations as well on the first class career, and what a way to end it. I did mention it in the intro as well, but the match-winning fifer for Northern Districts against Otago, that's a nice way to go out as well. Even though there's a part of me that doesn't quite believe you when you say you're going to give it away, I've just got the feeling that, you like it too much. You'll be back in some way, shape or form. But good luck in Durham. Really appreciate it, mate. Play until you're 45. Play until you can. So keep
Thanks,
going.
mate. No, I'll be playing, mate. That's for sure. I'm not in any rush to fully retire yet. It's just from New Zealand cricket, I think. Looking around, mate, there's a lot of youth and a lot of people are coming in, and we only play 8 first-class games a year. We we don't get, I guess, our players domestically don't get the amount of cricket in, I guess, that they should. So I sort of felt like, hey, the pound is strong at the moment. It sort of helps, I guess, pay the bills in a way. Paying you, I guess, in a big part as well. Trying to make the most, I guess, out of your career when you can, especially in the back end of your career, and when it's getting on the shorter end of it. But to give the younger guys a bit of time, extra time, and not keep up another space, and to move on from I guess New Zealand cricket. It was a tough decision, but I felt that the time was right. It's been 17 good years, and going out, like you say, winning a Plunket Shield, mate, was pretty special. So it's a good sort of fitting way to go, and I'll sort of try and chase some cricket abroad now, and sort of look what's around and how the body copes, I guess, with 7 4-day games in Durham, and sort of make a call after that. But feel like I've got some cricket left in me, so fingers crossed.
Well played, mate. Thanks for joining us on Willow Talk.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, Neil Wagner, I'm not sure how mobile he's going to be in 5 to 10 years' time, but the guy that I loved, so vivid, those memories of the Sri Lanka game, the England game over there, great finishes, good time zone for us, obviously, to take it all in. But that one against Sri Lanka where it was herniated disc, torn hamstring, and he sprints through for a bye. Here's my question to you, Heels, out of the back of that. Who's the player that you've seen in the most agonising pain? They've not only gone through the pain barrier, they've gone way beyond the pain barrier to get themselves there. And you can't say you after every test match.
Well, it is me. So that's who I've seen. I look in the mirror and I go, what are you doing every day? No, I know Hads's answer, and I've seen it. After a test match in Ryan Harris,
you were there, you saw it.
I've seen it.
The broken leg,
just him not being able to walk. But by the end of his career, there's nothing in his knee. It was just bone on bone, and that is just not good as a fast bowler, right? No. So I've seen that
as a functioning human.
I've seen Mitch with a torn pec.
Really?
After and that was
pecs, but somewhere in that region.
Well, he had a pec that day.
It goes into like a tennis ball, doesn't it?
Oh, it was huge next morning. Yeah,
hole in there. How did you do that?
He was bowling. I feel like they were playing Sri Lanka or someone down in Manica, and he didn't know when he did it. And he woke up the next day. But that looked pretty painful. But for me, feet aren't a vibe, and whenever I walk into a change room and there's a fast bowler losing a toenail, I will vomit.
Oh, yuck.
And that's more often than not Elise Perry or Darcy Brown at this point in time. So I've seen Pez a lot in change rooms or in the physio room having toenails removed, and it's just not a thing.
Yuck. No.
Yeah, you're on my level with that. It's just not cool. She laughs at me all the time and just tells me to shut up and grow up, but I can't do it.
What,
I
she
can't
actually
be in the same
enjoys
room.
it, does she?
Well, they're fast bowlers, they've got to deal with gross feet all the time, but I can't even be in the same room. I've got to leave. So, fast bowlers' feet.
Okay, moving on to sundries. On that point, Harry Brook has been named as the white ball captain of England. So
who would have thought?
You predicted it. Well done, Hill. So Hads was saying that Ben Stokes was an option, and he just had the feeling, especially for the one-dayers, that Ben Stokes could do it. It still might yet happen. You never know. because it feels like at the moment Ben Stokes is not ready to play white ball cricket. He just wants to get him set for red ball cricket over the next 8 months for England. But do you like this?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, yes, I think you'd be silly not to look at Ben Stokes, but I also agree. I don't think his body is in a place for him to play all the formats and lead all the formats either. I think that's the most important part. There's still room for Ben Stokes to come back and play in the team. He doesn't necessarily have to captain. Imagine having the likes of Joss Buttler, Ben Stokes, Joe Root in your team with Harry Brook as captain. The support that Harry Brook's going to get and the learning he's going to get over this little period is great. So I like it. No real surprise to the cricket snuffs around the world when you pull out of the IPL. And you know you've got something to fall back on, i.e. the England captaincy, and something important. I think it's cool. I really like him as a cricketer, and I hope he goes really well, except for when they play Australia.
Hopefully he keeps that role for 3 years, because he's talked himself out of the IPL for the next 3 years, hasn't he, by saying yes then no. But
well, I dare say, being the captain of any team in England, but a cricket team in particular, is a real honour, and I'm sure he'll be more than handsomely compensated for his time and making that decision, so he'll be fine.
Gary Stead has stepped down from the New Zealand white ball coach and is reapplying for the red ball position. I, for the life of me, every time I see it, still can't understand the reapply. It's either yes or no. It's not a...
Well, I don't mind it, because so he's basically a part of the furniture in Cricket New Zealand, right? He did the women's team from 2008. He's on the men's team from 2018, right? It's now 2025. Got that right. So he's been doing the job 7 years, all 3 formats.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, because you're going to have a whole new crop of coaches wanting to come in, coaching this New Zealand teams. They've look very different all the time. Where are they going to take them in the future? It's a great opportunity if Gary Stead really does want it, reapply and go, this is where I'm going to take the team moving forward. So I think it's good. But you can't just give the job to somebody again.
Can't you seek applications without having, imagine the HR interview. So Gary, tell us about yourself.
But I think from reading into it, he's taking a little bit of time to decide if that's something that he wants to do.
True.
So maybe they're doing the applications in that time period, and then if Gary turns around and says, keen to do it, and they're like, all right, well, you're up against some really good candidates. What have you got? It's probably a cool opportunity for him to refresh. And if he's got the energy to do that, then he's going to prove it, which is a good place to be, I think.
Could you see them nicking Dan Vettori office?
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, I hadn't even thought about it, and now that you've raised it, yep. Aw.
Well, would Dan Vettori earn more for Cricket Australia than he would from the New Zealand Cricket Board? Not sure. Stephen Fleming, of course, but he's king of the IPL.
Yeah.
Not going anywhere anytime soon. I wouldn't have thought Stephen Fleming.
Well, when you think about the greater aspect to it, like moving home, help with family, he'd be surely a candidate for that. And whether they split the roles as well. So maybe they give the opportunity for someone, so Dan Vettori, to come in and do the white ball. And Gary Stead, or whoever it might be, do the red ball. I mean, you'd be crazy not to do that, surely.
Let's get to one of the dodgiest LB decisions I've seen.
I thought it was out.
What?
Anyway, carry on.
Brett de Oliveira was on 121. He was saving a game for his county. And he pads up, I would conservatively say about 1.2 miles outside off stump.
Yep.
And he gets given. You thought it was out.
No, I didn't necessarily think it was out. I just said I understand why they gave it out, because that's just crap behaviour. Use your bat.
Yeah. Okay. I get that.
Or
I get that.
If you know that's not going to hit the stumps, leave it.
Yeah. Is that how modern players think, though?
Use your bat. Yeah.
Use your bat.
Slog sweep it for 6.
Well, he's not doing that when he's trying to save a game.
There was at least 8 players around the bat. There's no one at cow corner, surely.
Yeah, it looked like the end of that Boxing Day test.
I think. Yeah, I don't necessarily think the decision was correct, but in saying that, that's not how you go down on 121. Come on, you're seeing them like beach ball, surely.
You cannot give it out, though. Taking all that into account, the morals around actually having a bat and using it in cricket, you can't give that out. He did.
Guess what? It did.
It did. Anyway, he got down the track, old Brett, 121, Worcestershire. He literally got down the track there, but not enough, evidently. But no, he took the game far enough for Worcestershire to get away with a draw against Somerset, who set that mammoth total. That was that game on that road where Tommy Banton smacked 371. So
you know the way around that situation? Make it look like you were trying to play a shot. All of a sudden, if he looks like he's playing a shot, it's not out because it's impact outside. So he could have quite literally like helicoptered something around his head at the same time, and the umpire couldn't give it out.
When you pad up like that, if you can actually do it, can you just play this ridiculous late cut shot as you're padding up? That takes a bit of skill, actually,
yes.
Which makes you think, why don't you just use your bat to hit the ball? But you can do that, and that's classified as playing a shot?
Well, he was in a ridiculous position, so even if his bat was behind his pad, the umpire probably would have deemed that he wasn't playing a shot, but at least try and make it look like it, because then you actually can't get given out.
Exactly.
Maybe that's something we practice.
Ben Stokes chimed in. He did the old eyebrow raise emoji on Instagram, so he wasn't a fan of the dismissal. I'm with Ben.
Well, I'm sure we'll get Hawkeye on it at some point, and someone will recreate that.
Now, speaking of county cricket as well, Craig Overton fired up. Same old story, and this was from this game as well. Same old story. The team fails to strengthen the squad, re-signs domestic level overseas players, and the so-called leader of Somerset attack, Craig Overton, happily takes a back seat as his team can't dismiss the opposition in 200 overs. Laughable. Full credit to Worcestershire, by the way. Thumbs up. And then Craig Overton responds, "You wouldn't be happy if I bowled from one end all day, would you? Why don't you piss off and support someone else?"
I love it. I mean...
Fair?
Yeah, because I'm not on said social platform anymore because I just feel like I'd get myself into too much trouble because...
No.
It is open slather. Like, they are just... out there. This guy's name is banned from the pubs of guy or girl. I don't want to discriminate, but like, for God's sake, if you're banned from the pubs, it's a problem when you're just shit canning someone else. But I mean, sometimes you bite back because then you wait and see what their response is. But more often than not, you know what their response is? "Oh my God, you took the time to respond to my tweet. You're a loser." Like, honestly, there's nowhere to go. But I mean, yeah, I get it.
So is that why you deleted Twitter or X or whatever?
Yeah, actually, when I took over the captaincy I hadn't taken over yet. I was going over to India to captain, and I just was like not prepared for the amount of hate that I'm going to receive, so I just deleted it.
How long ago was that?
It's been a really cleansing 3 years.
Yeah, because I'm telling you right now, it's become a cesspool of stupidity.
Yeah,
that particular platform. So well played, you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, they still find me on Instagram. That's okay. It's easier to kind of filter out. But thank you. I feel much loved everywhere, even though I know it's not true.
It's giving you a warped appreciation of what is real.
I'll walk around happier.
Yeah, exactly. And a quick shout out to, this is a mate's son.
Yep.
Glanny is my mate, but Cooper Glanville, who I think it was last week, he played really well. He's a keeper bat. He's only 15. He got selected in the Aussie under-15 merit squad.
Yes.
Playing for New South Wales. Played really well. Unfortunately for Coops, he's gone over to winter sports, and this week playing a bit of rugby, he blew out his ACL.
Oh, no.
So, unfortunately for Coop, he won't be crouching down behind the stumps next summer unless the recovery goes really well. But just want to give him a shout out and hopefully lift his spirits because, if he doesn't listen to Willow Talk, he will now. So,
well, all the best, Cooper. And
yes.
At 35 years of old, I'm having to tinker with my keeping technique so we can learn it together when we've done your rehab. So I'll come and have a catch with you. We'll work it out.
Excellent, excellent. Before we go today, we warned you at the top, if you're not a golf fan, but you listen to Willow Talk because you love your cricket, you can tune out now. But
see you next week.
We've got to mention it is Masters Week, and we've got the all clear from the higher-ups finally. We don't just talk about it indiscriminately. We've got to get the higher-ups involved. And they said, yes, okay, Masters Week, Augusta comes alive. We're glued to the screen all weekend with the golf. But Heels obviously loves golf too.
Yeah.
Who's the best golfer you've ever seen from the world of cricket?
From all reports, I spent a lot of time with Paul Gow, and from all reports, he's of the opinion that Greg Blewett is by far the best sports person. So not even cricketer, but sports person to play the game of golf. So a lot of people assume it's Ricky Ponting.
Yeah.
But Gow is of the opinion that's Bluey.
But Ricky's got a broomstick, so...
Head noise.
Does that take a little... Yeah. That's the... reverse tariff, if you like.
Ricky, you can strike the ball as well as you like, but until you put a normal putter in your bag.
Yeah. So Bluey stripes them like he did to Keith Arthurton to mid-wicket that time in the Test match.
He probably hits a beautiful draw. From someone who's played on the tour, that's their opinion, so that's interesting.
Okay, if you could play golf with any cricketer, current or ex, who would it be?
Ooh, Ricky Ponting.
Ricky Ponting.
Yeah, I'd like to play with Ricky Ponting.
Okay, fair enough.
That'd be nice to play with.
Okay, well, here's one for you. You can join one group, or you're in one
but
group.
I'm in one group, so I get it.
You are in one group, but if you're like, well, I know these people so well, I just want to enjoy my golf. So we put
Well, I actually genuinely want out of this group, so that's fine.
Okay, so the group is Josh Hazelwood, Nathan Lyon, Mitchell Stark. You want out of that group.
I want out.
You know them enough.
I don't want to. I've played enough with Mitch. I don't want to hear Nathan all day, and Josh hits a nice ball, but I can't find it because it goes too far.
The following groups: Ponting, Maxwell, Warner, Head.
Oh, yep.
The next group off the first.
Yep.
Marsh, Stoinis, Grace Harris, Green.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful group.
Smith, Marnus, Phoebe Litch,
yep.
Alana King.
Don't want that group. Oh, I'd love to play with Litch and Kingy, but the other two, no.
Well, they'd just be talking to each other about batting the whole way around.
And the other two would be snuffing up cricket as well, so that'd be fine. That is a good group. That four would enjoy themselves.
Okay.
Yep.
Next group, Cummins, Sutherland, Carey, Kawaja.
Ooh, okay. Yep.
And the last group, Haddon, Peacock, Harrison producer, Ferris producer.
I'm going to leave you guys at the back of the pack because you're going to need all the time you can get. You know what? I'm going to join. I'm going to boot Uzi out of that group, and Uzi can go play with Mitch, Josh, and Nath. And I'm going to join the Cummins, Sutherland, Carey group because the Cummins, Sutherland, and I don't know what Alex Carey plays off, that handicap would be useful. And because Sutherland, Annabelle plays off like 20-something at Cathedral, her home course. Useful because hits the long ball.
So are you suggesting that Annabelle is of a handicap that is not befitting of her actual standard, i.e. she has to play in a balaclava?
I think she needs to work on her short game because stuff off the tee is unbelievable, as every cricketer should be. But plays at some nice courses in Melbourne, hard courses, so it's finding it quite difficult at the moment. But I'd like to join that group. That'd be fun. Although I could boot David Warner out of the Ponting group and just play that one too.
Okay, fair enough.
So long as Maxi stays inside the cart.
And by the sounds of it, as long as you're not in that group that you're actually in, Hazelwood, Lyon, Stark, with all due respect to Hazelwood and Lyon.
Yeah.
There you go.
Boring.
And last of all, actually, on Willow Talk this week, there's this AI trend going on at the moment where it takes, you put into Chat GPT person and their mild interests, and you say, make a figurine of this person. Oh. I didn't realise it until producer Joel brought it up with me. There's one here of you, and it's got a golf club in it. It's come in a little pack. It's got the golf club, it's got the cricket bat, the cricket ball, and you with stumps on and a very big smile on your face, not to mention a big cranium.
Oddly, it looks like someone I know, but it's not me. I don't know who it is, though. But I tell you what, my forearms look ripped, and I'm ready to hit some sixes.
I look like I have nothing to do with sport, but rather...
I'm going to you for my taxes.
Tax accountant or something like that.
But a really dodgy one.
Yes, exactly. But I got my Newcastle United shirt on, so that's the main thing. That's the main thing. And
that guy on like a Thursday night at the pub, not the Friday or the Saturday night. You're there on a Thursday watching some sort of weird sport on the television in your footy jersey, but you've just come from work and you just solved a whole heap of people's financial problems.
Yeah, and I need to decompress before I get home.
Drinking a cider.
And Hads just looks so happy to be there.
Hads looks like Hads, though.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like a little bit like Hads. I don't know if you've seen Snow White, which has been panned, but they got the CGI versions of the Seven Dwarfs in, and Hads, he looks a little bit like Sleepy. No.
He does have some high shoulders going on too, which is like 20 years of wicketkeeping. So
there's a wicketkeeper glove, there's a bat, and there's a beer there. That's been defined as his interests, which is spot on. So the likeness of us three in these figurines, not quite right, but I dare say they've got the interests right with the accessories that have come with the figurine.
Well, let us know if you want a figurine because I'm sure we can get them made up.
It's actually quite fun. Yeah. We might do one. Let's do one with Travis Head. Let's pick a couple of players. Give us one of your teammates from the Aussie team to do one off.
Well, I'd say Phoebe Litchfield, but it'll just come out with a cricket bat and a pair of running shoes. So boring. Maybe Alana King. It'll come out with a little Lamazocco coffee machine and a little milk frother. Yeah. Yeah, let's go Kingy.
Okay, Alana King, Travis Head, and we'll do Starkey as well. We'll do one for Starkey.
Okay, righto. Great. Look forward to it.
I'm interested to see, because everyone's looks like they're 4'2" in these figurines. I'm interested to see how you make a guy who's 6'5" into a figurine. So
I look normal height.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Heels, that is the last, unless you decide to stay here and decide not to go to the IPL.
Well, funnily enough, my visa actually hasn't come through yet, so I might actually be here a little bit longer. So we'll wait and see.
It's in the hands of the Indian Immigration Department, but if things go well, enjoy the IPL for the next month or so, and see you with some stories when you get back.
Yep, see you soon.
That was Willow Talk. Have a great weekend, everyone. Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.